I made $1.6 million in the last 12 months from my truck dispatching business, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it in the next 120 minutes. This free course that you're going through right now is actually split up into 7 different videos where I show you step by step how to start a truck dispatching business from scratch, even if you have no experience. In this video, we're going to talk about the service. So I'm basically just going to show you everything I do to book a load. So I'm going to show you how I find hot markets, what rates I look for, how I negotiate with brokers, and also what to do after you book a load. So without wasting any more time, let's just jump right into it. All right, so here we are inside the service training video, and here's what we're going to cover. So there's really only one thing on the agenda, and that's the L.O.A.D cycle or the L.O.A.D cycle. So this is something that I came up with that I use in my 7-figure dispatching business. And this process is basically just going to show you step by step how to find, book, and dispatch high-paying loads. By the end of this video, you will know how to find, book, and dispatch very high-paying loads. I'm not going to skip anything. So this is probably the most important training video that you could go through to learn how to dispatch. So just stick with it, okay? And then after we go through all that, there's a lot to cover. The last thing I'm going to talk about is just a summary. I'm going to summarize everything up, give you some homework to do so you can actually start to implement all this and start to take action and make some money. Anyways, I hope you guys are excited for that. One quick pro tip, make sure you watch this video in 1.5 times speed or 2 times speed if you want to, but in the bottom right hand side, change the playback speed and change it to 1.25, 1.5, 2 times speed, doesn't really matter. Just put this video in fast forward mode so it goes by much quicker and it'll be a lot less boring. Anyways, with all that out of the way, let's just jump right into it. And we're going to talk about the L.O.A.D cycle. So what is the L.O.A.D cycle? Basically, the L.O.A.D cycle that I've come up with is just a step-by-step strategy to, again, find, book, and dispatch loads. So there's 4 different phases to the L.O.A.D cycle, okay? And I'll break down the phases for you. So the first phase is the learning phase, okay? This is what everyone needs to start off with when you're working with a new carrier. Then after the learning phase, we have the observation phase. After the observation phase is the asking phase. And then finally, the delivery phase. I'm going to break it all down step by step, okay? Starting with the first step, the first phase, which is the learning phase. In the learning phase, we're trying to figure out what our carrier actually needs, what are their costs, what are their carrier packet documents. We need to collect all the basic information from them before we start to book loads. Because if we don't have the basic information, we're basically booking loads blind, okay? So there's 3 things inside the learning phase. First and foremost, the CPM. So we need to calculate their CPM or cost per mile, how much money it costs them to drive a single mile. I'm going to show you how to do that. After that, we need to collect their carrier packet documents. These are documents every broker will ask for when you book a load with them. So we want to collect these documents beforehand so we're not like panicking when it comes time to actually start booking loads. And then finally, the setup. So we just want to organize our Google Drive, make sure all of our folders are in order, that we're organized, all the tools and software that we need, it's already connected and it's already working. Let me just break this down in a little bit more detail. The learn phase, you're basically calculating carrier CPM, collecting carrier packet documents, and organizing your tools in Google Drive. If you skip this step, if you skip this phase, you're basically booking loads blind. And that's something we do not want to do, okay? So as I mentioned, the first step in the learn phase is calculating the CPM. So we need to get to know your carrier's numbers. So we need to know their cost per mile, which is their CPM. We need to know their target profit per mile, how much money they want to make per mile that they drive in profit. We need to figure that out. And then also we need to figure out the target rate per mile, okay? This is the number that we will keep in mind when we go to actually book loads, okay? So again, we're not just randomly booking loads. We're booking loads that on average are above this target rate per mile. You'll need this every time you negotiate loads. It's going to make your life so much easier. And I'm going to show you how to do that. After the CPM, we have the carrier packet documents. So we're going to collect your carrier's documents that brokers will ask for. This includes things like the W-9, the certificate of insurance, the MC authority that they were provided. Maybe you might need a voided check if they're going to collect an invoice directly from the broker. If they're working with a factoring company, you'll need a notice of assignment. So there's a few different documents like that. I'm going to show you all of them, and then I'll show you how to save them inside your Google Drive so you're not scrambling to find them every single time. You're organized, you're prepared, you know where all the documents for all your carriers are. And then finally, the setup. So just making sure that Your dispatching tools are all there and they're all functioning. All the software that you need is functioning. You have clean folder setups inside Google Drive. You need to be organized because the faster you can get access to information, the faster you'll be able to book loads, and usually for a lot more money. Okay. So again, a lot of stuff here. Let's just take it step by step. So first and foremost, let's figure out the CPM. The way that you can do that is just by using the CPM calculator that I've built for you guys. So you can just go to dispatcheruniversity.com/calculator, and I'll go ahead and actually open it up so you can see what it looks like. Completely free tool that I've built for you. You can use it for free. I'm not really charging you anything for this. Okay. I just want you guys to make money. Anyways, let me just zoom in a little bit so you guys can see what we're working with. But as you can see, it's a simple Google Sheets calculator that I've built out. And there's a few different line items in here, a few different expenses that you can list out. And we have a bunch of formulas in here that will help you calculate the CPM. So let's just really quickly explain how to actually use this calculator. So the stuff you see in the white right over here is stuff that you will need to input. Okay. The stuff that you see in the black, you're not going to input anything into here, or even this stuff over here. The only thing that you're going to be inputting numbers into is this stuff in the white right over here. So the total gross working days and the total miles, and also for these line items right over here. So you can put in numbers over here. You can put in numbers over here. Do not put any numbers into this black area or the green or the red. We have calculations and formulas set up in there. Really quickly, if I was to do this as an example, I'll just do that with you guys. So let's say the total gross, you're expecting this carrier. They're a semi-truck dry van carrier. They're working with you. They just signed up with you. You're kind of trying to figure out their CPM numbers. We can expect a dry van semi-truck carrier to roughly make around $25,000 per month in today's market. Okay. And that's me being like kind of conservative. So let's say I will expect them to make $25,000 every single month. That's the goal that we're trying to hit. They will work 30 days a month on average. Some months are 29 days. Some months are 31. Let's just say they're going to be working 30 days on average. And the total number of miles that they're going to drive on an average month is, again, let's say 10,000 miles. They're running regional loads, maybe national loads. And again, these are just guesstimates that you will have to make. These are just averages that you'll have to come up with just by knowing your industry that you're operating in. I know these numbers to be true for dry van semi-trucks. If you don't really have any idea what you're doing over here, you can just use these numbers. These are fairly accurate, okay, across all industries, basically. So this is what I'm going to start off with: $25,000 total gross, 30 days, and 10,000 miles, okay? And as you can see, these formulas have already started calculating stuff out, but it's not super accurate right now. After you've inputted numbers over here, okay, like your assumptions, then we want to put in their real expenses, okay? So this is where the carrier will come in. You will go through this calculator with them. You could go through and fill all this out. And actually, let me just do this with you guys. I have some numbers pulled up on the side, and I'm gonna go ahead and list them out, and then I'll skip ahead to when I'm done. All right, so there we go. I've just gone ahead and filled out this entire calculator with some sample numbers. Again, your numbers will be completely different, but I'm just giving you a rough idea of how this calculator works. Filled everything out, inputted all the numbers that the carrier will give me. For fuel, I accurately calculated that. I looked up what is the average diesel rate in the US right now, and then how many miles that they drove, and what is their miles per gallon on their truck. I just assumed it was 6 miles per gallon, which is, again, the average. So you can use like assumptions like that to come up with like a rough idea of what they spend on fuel every single month. So I use that number over here. Type of fuel, what is the cost for that? Maintenance. So this is something that you could just estimate. Again, I'm thinking they might end up spending around $500, $600 per month. So just include that in your calculation as well, even though that might not be a cost that has come up yet. So there might be some months where the maintenance is zero, where they don't have to spend any money on parts or maintenance or anything like that. But we don't want to assume that in the future that maintenance and parts will just cost $0. So we want to budget something for that. That's exactly what I've done in here. Yeah. Go through, fill out this calculator. For dispatching, this is your dispatching fee. We charge 10% per load. So if they're making $25,000 in total load revenue, we're going to take 10% of this, okay? This $25,000. So that means we're going to ask for or we're going to make $2,500 from this one carrier per month. So I've gone ahead and put that number in here as well. And the last thing I want to mention, the only thing I missed so far, or the only thing I skipped right now, is the owner profit. So this is our target profit per mile. I skipped that for now, just because without that, and just by putting in all the other expenses, if we look over here, our cost per mile now is given as $1.82. So this is our actual cost per mile for this carrier. So for this example carrier, for them to move their truck a single mile, it's costing them $1.82. Okay. So that's very important to know that. That means if we're booking loads for less than $1.82 per mile, they're actually losing money on this load. So it's not very profitable for them. That's a very important number to know. You can show your carrier this number as well. Now, that being said, the next number that we need, if you guys remember, is the target profit per mile. That's right over here. So this is where you ask the carrier, you have a discussion with them. What is the minimum profit that you would be willing to accept? What is the minimum profit that you would be willing to make in order to think that our relationship together, like me dispatching for you, is worth your time and investment? Is it $4,000 per month, $5,000 per month, $6,000 per month? What is it? If they give you a number from $4,000 to $6,000, that is pretty accurate. Okay, I would say that's a very reasonable number for them to give you. If they say they want to make $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 per month in profit, and they're a solo owner operator, they're a brand new MC, you have to be realistic with them. You have to tell them, hey, your expectations are completely out of proportion. You need to have their expectations in line with what you can actually do. Otherwise, it's going to lead to dissatisfied customers, higher churn rate. They're just going to end up leaving you. Okay. So this is where you need to have that conversation with them. Let's say they tell you, hey, I'm happy with at a minimum making $5,000 per month. Like if I'm making at the very least $5,000 per month in profit, then I am happy working with you. Okay, great. So we'll go ahead and put that over here. We can see that our profit per mile, the target profit per mile that we're trying to reach is 50 cents. Okay. So we take the CPM, which is the $1.82. If you guys remember, this calculator is automatically going to add this 50 cents per mile. This the target profit per mile. And the total number that it now gives us right over here, this $2.32 is the target rate per mile. So hopefully that made sense. Okay. I'll do that again. Let me delete this number out. So without this target profit per mile number in, just by including all the other expenses, we skip this expense, include all the other expenses, we have come up with our cost per mile. So this is your break-even point. How much money your carrier needs to make to break even. This is how much money it's costing them to run a single mile. Hopefully that part makes sense. Then we try to figure out the carrier's target profit per mile, how much money they would like to make in profit every single month. Let's say they give you something reasonable, like $5,000 per month is what they want to make. We include that as an expense, and now our total cost per mile, our new cost per mile number is not our cost per mile anymore, it's our target rate per mile. So this is the number, this $2.32. This is the number that we're trying to make sure that the rate that we get from brokers, we're trying to make sure that that number is higher than this $2.32 number right over here. So if I book a load from Chicago to Columbus for $3 per mile, and on the way back from Columbus to Chicago, I book it for $2 per mile, on average, my average lane rate was $2.50, right? $3 plus $2 divided by 2, that's $2.50. So that $2.50 is higher than this $2.32, which means we're doing a good job. Okay. We're helping them hit that goal. Where if we keep doing this, we're going to definitely clear this $5,000 per month in profit. Okay. We're actually going to end up making them more money by doing that. So hopefully that made sense. You know how to figure out your cost per mile. So if we remove this number over here, this target profit per mile, we remove that. We have the cost per mile. If we add this target profit per mile in of $5,000, the carrier wants to make $5,000 per month in profit to make sure that, they would be happy with our service. This is our target profit per mile. We add the cost per mile plus the profit that they want. And this new number right over here is the target rate per mile. So this is the number that we need to keep in mind when we go to negotiate rates in the future. And I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So as long as we're averaging a higher rate than $2.32, that means we're doing a good job for our carrier. Okay, they're making the money that they would be happy with, and we're helping them cover all their costs as well. So not only are they covering all their costs that they're going to have for their business, but they're also making the profit that they would be happy with. That's essentially what this number is telling us. Anyways, let me just go ahead and delete all this stuff out, and then we can move forward. But yeah, very simple to use calculator. It's super, super helpful. Definitely something that you should be doing. Okay, this is one of the most crucial steps. Without this, you literally don't know what is a good load and what is a bad load. Okay, to you then every load is good or bad. Okay, you have no idea how to gauge that, but now you do. So that's the CPM calculator. You can go to dispatcheruniversity.com/calculator to get access to it. The next thing that I want to show you is the carrier packet documents. So remember, this was step number 2. Okay, these are some documents that we will need to request from our carriers. So I can show you how that looks. Now, I don't think I can share this with you guys. You know, like these are all PDF files. I don't know how to share PDF files with you guys on YouTube, but if you're inside my private school community, Dispatcher University, then you should see that in the description below. But anyways, this is what it looks like. I'll just show you what it looks like. So all these different documents are what you will need to collect from your carrier. Okay. So first and foremost, we have a carrier profile. This is something that I've built out for my trucking company. And you could just, you could send this to your carriers as well. But basically you collect some basic carrier information from them, some equipment information, what is the truck number, trailer number, who's going to be driving it, what is the make and model, what year is it, do the assigned drivers have the right to make load decisions for you, blah, blah, blah. What areas of operation do you want to operate in, obviously? What rates or what loads do you want to avoid? Is there any shippers that you want to avoid? Do you work with a factoring company? What is your insurance information? So we get basically all these basic information that we know carriers or brokers will ask from us when we go to book a load. So this is very important. This is just a document that I've built out. You can get access to it. Again, I just share this template with you if you're in Dispatcher University. Then you'll need to request their certificate of liability insurance. So this is kind of what it looks like. Again, they will know what this is. They will give you access to it. They will just give you a copy of it just so you know that they have insurance on file and when it expires, when it needs to renew. So you can keep track of that as well. Without liability insurance, you're not able to book loads for the carrier. Okay. So they need to have liability insurance for their trucking company, and you need to know that it's active. That's it. Limited power of attorney. This is not really essential. We do try to get this signed whenever we can, again, just to kind of protect ourselves and just so we're not in any legal gray zone, just to make sure that, hey, you are authorizing us to make load decisions for you, to find and book loads on your behalf. You are authorizing us to do that. But again, it's not really that essential. Now, this is kind of like an older practice, but I still included it for you guys if you want to use it. But again, that's completely optional, not that important. Then we have the MC authority. The carrier knows what this is. They will provide you this document just to show you that they are a legitimate MC owner, that they're a legitimate carrier. And the broker will also ask for that information again when you go to book loads. Notice of assignment. This is something the factoring company will send if they're working with the factoring company and if they're getting their loads factored. If not, if they want to get paid directly, if they don't want to get their loads factored, they want to get paid directly by the broker, then you might need like a void check from the carrier. So either you'll need a void check or a notice of assignment. I like to end up getting both just in case. Okay. And then finally the W-9. So they will send you this as well. You can request their W-9 information and they can fill out this document online. The government has this form for free. They could just fill this out, send it to you because again, the broker will ask for this information. So these are all the documents that you will need. These are all the documents that are part of the carrier packet, okay, that brokers request. We're trying to get all this stuff before we go to a broker and start booking loads. Hopefully all that's making sense. And again, if I ever lose you on anything, if this is too complicated, leave comments down below or just reach out to me on school. I'm the most active inside my paid school community. You can reach out to me inside there. I answer all questions. And I jump on a live weekly call, okay, every single week. So you could just ask me questions there. Anyways, let's get back to what I was saying. So that's the learning phase, okay? Learning phase is the CPM, the packet, and the setup. You know how to do all that stuff step by step. So we've gotten all the basics out of the way. The next phase is the observation phase. So this is where we actually start to analyze the market, try to figure out where are the hot zones, where should we even send our carrier. So there's 3 levels of market analysis that you can do. The first one is the global level. The second, or we're narrowing it down a little bit now, is the lane specific market research. And then finally, we have the truck specific market research. So again, as I just mentioned, in the observe phase or the observation phase, you're studying the market, you're spotting the best lanes and planning where to move your carrier. You're not booking loads yet. You're just trying to learn and figure out where the money is, where you have the most amount of leverage possible. 90% of dispatching, 90% of booking high paying loads is not so much the negotiation part of dispatching, it's the positioning, okay? If you're in a really hot market, in a market where there's not a lot of trucks available, but there's a lot of loads available, you have a ton of leverage and you will be able to make a ton of money. You will be able to command a ton of money. Whereas if you're in a really crappy market, it doesn't matter how much of a good negotiator you are, you're not going to get great money. Okay, there's hundreds of other carriers that will pick up the load for less money than you, that are more desperate than you. So 95% of dispatching is just putting your carrier in the right position. And this is where we're going to learn how to do that. So the very first step, the very first market analysis that you should do is the global level. Okay, so we're going to look at the entire US and figure out where the hot zones are, where to even start looking. So the tools that I specifically use to do this, they're all inside DAT. You don't need DAT in the beginning. You can start to use DAT once you actually find a carrier, but DAT is what I use, and specifically DAT's rate view tool, DAT's market conditions tool, and DAT blogs. I use all those to spot the hot zones. Again, the zones where there are more loads than trucks available. And just a quick note, all these tools that I mentioned, all this market analysis that I'm showing you, you should use it as a general guide, okay? None of it is like a final answer or like the final truth. No tool is gonna help you do that. If there was one single tool that could just show you like, hey, send your carrier to this market, you're gonna make exactly this amount of money and this the best rate that you could possibly get for today, we wouldn't even need dispatchers, okay? We wouldn't need any sort of middleman or person to do the analysis and to parse that information. That's what you're doing as a dispatcher, okay? There's no tool out there that's gonna help you do that. So we're just using all these tools as a general guide of where to start looking, but it's not like a definitive answer. Hopefully that made sense. So I'm going to show you how to do that, how to do like the global level market analysis. After that, I'm going to show you the lane specific market analysis. So we're going to look at 7-day lane averages to target the top 3 to 5 routes. Okay. So once we look at the global level view, we're going to pick out 3 to 5 routes that we want to look more deeper into and figure out what type of rates that those lanes are going for. So we're going to list out those 3 to 5 routes. And then I'm going to show you how to figure out what those lanes have been paying over the past week or 2 weeks. So we're going to check both the head haul plus the back haul. So the head haul is going from your origin to your destination. So where your carrier is right now to where they're going. And then the back haul is exactly how it sounds. It's coming back from that destination location to where you started. So we want to check both routes. Okay. Just because you got a load going from Chicago to Columbus for $3 per mile, it doesn't mean you're going to get that same load back for $3 per mile. Okay, you might only get $2 per mile coming back. So we want to check to make sure that we're not getting screwed on the way back. Because again, if you only hyperfixate on the highest rate possible, then you will have to deadhead, your carrier will have to deadhead, which essentially means they're not going to pick up any load. They're just going to drive empty. And if you're driving empty, you're not making any money. You're just wasting $1.82 for every single mile that you're driving. So that's going to eat into your carrier's profit. So you want to avoid that. And then finally, we have the truck level specific analysis. So just because you did all this like global level analysis, you know which lanes are paying really well, it doesn't mean that your driver is willing to go there or they want to go there or they will be happy to go there. Based on their equipment, based on their truck, based on their experiences, you need to keep that in mind as well. At the end of the day, you are a dispatcher providing a service to keep a customer happy. Just because a single lane is telling you that this is the best lane for the day, it doesn't mean it's the best lane for your carrier. Hopefully, again, I say this a lot, hopefully that made sense, okay? But yeah, you need to know where your driver is right now, how much hours of service time that they've got left, where they're going. All this stuff is important to figure out what lane that you should end up booking for that specific truck. Obviously, just some examples, you obviously want to avoid mountains if their truck can't handle it. You know, if you know that their truck is really old, it's prone to breaking down, has really crappy fuel mileage, then you want to avoid like those hilly areas, okay? Unless they have a Peterbilt, they probably shouldn't be hauling like super heavy loads through the mountains. It's a very dangerous thing to do. Avoid New York City or Chicago, like downtown cities, if they hate driving in those tight streets. Basically, you just need to figure out what your carrier doesn't want to do, and you have to plan around that. Okay, so that is the truck level specific analysis. Anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and show you the global and the lane specific analysis. So I am going to use DAT. So this is what DAT looks like. If you don't have access to DAT, and again, the only way you can get access to DAT is if you have an MC number. As an independent truck dispatcher, as I've probably already explained to you guys, you don't need a MC number to get started. You don't need any sort of broker MC or carrier MC or anything like that to get started. But once you get to around like 5 trucks, 6 trucks, 7 trucks, it becomes harder and harder to act like a bona fide agent, and it becomes harder and harder not to allocate freight, okay? So in order to avoid that, you can end up getting a broker MC number, but only once you have 5, 6, 7 trucks, okay, that you're dispatching for. Once you have that, then you can think about getting your broker MC number. Or if you want to get it right away, that's totally fine too. There's no harm in that. But I'm just saying, in the beginning, you don't technically need an MC number to get started to start a truck dispatching business. But to get access to DAT, the software DAT, you will need an MC number. They check to see if you have an MC number or not. Now, obviously, a lot of you are not going to have an MC number. That's totally fine. You will need to find a carrier first, sign a carrier first, and they will either provide you access to DAT. So they will sign up for DAT and just give you their account details. Or if they don't want to do that, they can sign up for DAT, pay the $200 per month, and get a dispatcher seat. Okay, I think it costs like an extra $79 per month. They can pay for an extra dispatcher seat, so it's like an extra user on their account, and they can do that and then provide you access that way. Either way you do it, you're going to need an MC number first, a carrier first, and they will provide you access to DAT load board. I have a broker MC. I also have a carrier MC number as well. So I have access through my own MC number. Okay, but if you don't have an MC number, you will have to work around it like that. Now there's tons of other load boards you can use as well. 123 load board, truckloads by Trucker Path. You can check that out as well. I don't think they have an MC number check. So there's tons of other load boards that you can use that don't have an MC number check. Use those first. You know, when you don't have a carrier, you can practice on those load boards first. You don't need to jump straight into DAT. Okay, don't freak out. But again, I'm going to show you how to use DAT because this is the best software, and you will use this once you start working with carriers. So with that spiel out of the way, here's what the DAT software looks like. So first and foremost, we want to do some global level market analysis. So in order to do that, we're just going to go to the tools section over here. And you can see all the DAT tools are listed right over here. We have the market conditions and the rate view. I'm going to start with the rate view first. All right, there we go. So this is what the rate view tool looks like. It's just giving you a general overall average rate for the specific equipment that you're looking at. So as you can see over here, for the national rate, so this is all across the US, okay, the average rate. It's telling us that brokers, so the loads that are on load boards like DAT, brokers are paying $1.68 per mile. And it's also telling you that the rate has increased by 5 cents since the last month. I believe it's a month by month basis. Yeah, you can see over here, month by month basis. But basically it's telling us like a general trend of what's going on. Now, this isn't super useful. Okay, you're not going to really use this rate view tool that much, but it's just like an extra piece of information to have when you're speaking with carriers, so you're more informed about what's going on in the trucking industry. Okay, like if rates are down right now, you can point to a tool like this and show your carrier like, hey, it's not that I'm doing a bad job for you. The rates are down for everyone. Look at this number over here. Look at like what the average rates are looking like. The average broker spot rate is $1.68. I am booking loads for you for $2.50, $2.60 per mile. So we're doing much, much better than the average rate. Okay. And you can point to tools like this to obviously show them how well you're doing. And again, since this is like an average national rate, your rates that you book are going to be much, much higher than the average. But again, it just shows you like what brokers are paying on load boards, what direct shipper contracts are generally going for. So you can see it's like $1.92 right now per mile on average. And again, these averages, they're a really bad indicator of what type of money that you can get. We're not going to be booking loads for $1.68. I'll tell you that much. Okay, that's just not going to happen. So I don't really use this tool that much. It's just to get like a feel for the industry in general. If the rate is going down, then I have to look a little bit deeper into it. If it's going up, then I look a little bit deeper into it, figure out why that is. But yeah, you can change the equipment type on the top right-hand side. So I work with dry vans. I have it set to dry van. But you can look at flatbed rates. You can look at reefer rates. You know, if I change it to that, you can see what the reefer rates are looking like. But yeah, feel free to do that. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to show you over here is on the right-hand side. It's the blogs. Okay. So I think once a week, DAT posts their reports. So they post a dry van report, a reefer report, and a flatbed report. So they give you like a general idea of what's going on in the industry, you know, what are the rates looking like and why they're changing. They'll use like their analysts to figure out what's going on and they'll report it to you so you're more informed about the industry. So that is super, super important. And I'm actually going to show you a little trick that you can do. So let me just open one of these blogs up. So let's say I want to look at the dry van report blog. I want to figure out what's going on in the dry van industry. You can see this was posted just a couple of days ago. So I can go through and read all this, which is something I would really recommend you guys do. Read all this, try to understand all these numbers and what they mean. You could watch this video that they've posted, you know, just like a market update video. You could see like they use like the market conditions map. I'm going to show you how to use that as well. They're telling you the load to truck ratios, how those are changing, how the spot rates are changing, so on and so forth. Now you can do all that, but if you're a beginner, it's going to be really hard for you to understand all this. What you can do is actually copy all this. So I'm going to copy all this stuff over here down to right over here, click copy. And then I'm actually going to open up ChatGPT. Okay. So you can use a tool like ChatGPT and you can say something like, hey, help me understand this article in detail. Explain it to me in 5th grade simple language, but keep all the details. Something like that. Okay. And then I'll come over here, put some quotation marks, and then paste the article. Go ahead, click enter. And that's exactly what ChatGPT is going to do. It's going to read this entire article that you just pasted and give you just some quick notes. So you could see how much, so the ton mile index is how much freight trucks are moving. In July 2025, the trucking ton mile index, a way to measure how much stuff trucks are hauling and how far, went up by 0.8%, blah, blah, blah. Why it went up is telling you that as well. The growth is positive, but not explosive. Big question for the rest of 2025, so on and so forth. And then the key takeaways. So it's also telling you that. Super, super incredible tool to use. Okay. And you can also say something like this. How can I use this information as an independent truck dispatcher? What does this mean for me? Something like that. Okay. You could go ahead, click enter, see what ChatGPT has to say about that. It's telling you the freight market is slowly strengthening, so be ready to push rates, blah, 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 what industries to look at, so on and so forth. So just something to consider, something you can do. These are reports that you should be reading. Again, if you're more informed than your carrier, then you are in a better position to help them understand what's going on. And they will see you as more of an expert. So these are the blogs. I would recommend reading all 3 of them every time they come up. Anyways, that's the rate view tool. The next tool, the one that I use probably more often at the global level, is the market conditions index tool. So I can just click on market conditions right on the left side over here, or under tools on DAT, the market conditions right over here. Okay. Either way, it's going to bring you to this colorful map that you see over here. So this map is basically showing us where the cold zones are and hot zones are. Okay. Where there's loose capacity and tight capacity. So the blue areas are the areas we want to avoid. That is loose capacity, meaning there's a lot of trucks available and not a lot of loads available to move. Okay. So you don't have a lot of leverage in those areas. The red markets are the ones where there's a lot of loads available, but not a lot of trucks that are going there or that are in that market. Now, just because it's a hot zone, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing. Okay. So you can see Florida over here. It's a very tight market, slightly tight market, blah, blah, blah. You have to kind of understand, why is that a hot zone? Okay. Like why aren't trucks in that area? Why don't they want to go to that area? What's going on? So you'll have to do a bit more research into things like that. Okay. Don't automatically assume that just because it's red means it's a good thing. But here's how you can use this tool. So let's say you're working with a carrier, and that carrier, in my example, let's just say he's based in Chicago, Illinois. Okay. So I want to look at loads going out of Chicago. Am I able to get him a good load out of Chicago? So I will go over here, look up Chicago, Illinois. He has a dry van. So I'll pick dry van truck. Outbound load. We're looking for outbound lanes, not coming into Chicago, going out of Chicago. So it's outbound. For this view, you could do like a historical 8-day view. So it's going to give you like the average rate or like the average capacity trend over the last 8 days. Over the last day, it'll tell you currently what's going on. I would probably stick to 1 day or 8 day. Okay, typically speaking. Current is like always changing so much that you're not really going to get a good idea, but you could look at the entire yesterday, like what the market was looking like all of yesterday, and the entire last week. Those are pretty good historical analysis tools to use. So for here, I'm just going to set it to 1 day, just for example. And then for this stuff over here, just leave it at market. And yeah, that should be good enough. As you can see, for the Chicago outbound market for 10/1/2025, there is a 5.3 load to truck ratio, which means there's 5 loads available for every single truck in the market, which could mean a good thing, could be a bad thing. We don't really know yet. What we really want to look at is the MCI index, okay, the market conditions index. So it's telling us that Chicago is a very, very tight market, literally the tightest market that it could be. Okay. So you can see over here, it's 100 MCI. It can't get any higher than that. That means shippers are desperately looking for trucks to move out of Chicago, and, deliver loads outside of Chicago. So that is a really good sign for me. Okay. That means I'm in a really good market. Now I can start to look at other markets over here as well, other red zones. If I zoom in a little bit, I will come over here and start looking at some other red zones and pick like 3 to 5 red zones as well. So let's say, for example, Columbus, Ohio, I see right over here. Okay. So let's say I want to look at what are the rates looking like for Columbus, Ohio? Okay. What is the inbound lanes looking like for Columbus, Ohio? So I'm going to erase that. And instead, I'm going to put Columbus, Ohio in over here. It's a dry van. I'm not looking for outbound now. I'm looking for inbound. I'm coming from Chicago into Columbus, Ohio. I want to see what the loads going into Columbus, Ohio are able to get. So I'll click on inbound, and you can see it's still a very tight market. So that means shippers that want to deliver loads inside or bring loads to Columbus, they're also struggling to find carriers to move loads into Columbus. Again, very positive sign. We have some leverage there. Now, the last check I will do before I make this one of the routes that I'm going to target is look at the outbound market. So I've looked at the outbound market of Chicago. I realized that that is a strong market. There's a lot of loads going out of Chicago. Great. I saw that Columbus, Ohio had a hot market. Okay. I want to look at the inbound market for Columbus, Ohio. Am I able to get a good load going into Columbus, Ohio? And yes, I am. Okay. Now, the last thing I need to do is check if I can get another good load going out of Columbus. I don't want to get stuck in Columbus. My carrier is not from Columbus, Ohio. Okay, he doesn't live there. We need to find a good load going out of Columbus market as well. So is the outbound for the Columbus market also really strong? So again, instead of inbound, I will click on outbound and see what that says. Yes, it's a very, very tight market. Okay, so all around this lane, this potential target lane that we could run So from Chicago to Columbus, it seems like it's a really good idea to run this lane. Okay, so I will go ahead, take a notepad out and write that down. Chicago to Columbus, Ohio. All right, that's a potential lane that I'm interested in. I want to do a little bit deeper research into that, see what type of rates I can get for that. But you will go ahead and do that for 3 to 5 different routes. Okay, so again, I would look at, I'm in Chicago. Let's see, where else can I look for? Kentucky. So Louisville, I can look at that really quickly. Louisville, Kentucky. I want to look at the inbound freight for that. It's a very loose capacity. Okay, not a great sign. So not a lot of trucks or not a lot of shippers. Shippers don't need a bunch of trucks to go in there. There's already enough trucks available in the market that are willing to go to Louisville, Kentucky. So this kind of throws up some red flags a little bit, but I can still look into it a little bit further. So let's say I do find a load from Chicago to Louisville, Kentucky. Am I able to get out of that market? Do I have potential to get out of the market? I will go ahead and click on outbound. And yes, I do. It's a very tight market. Okay. So that is another market that I could potentially be interested in. But I'll have to do a little bit more research on it. But you go ahead, do that for like 3 to 5 different markets, figure out what's paying really well, what's not, what has a loose capacity, what has a tight capacity. And that's generally speaking how you target, how you niche down and figure out like what routes that you want to focus on. So that is the global market analysis. Okay. Hopefully you guys are following along. So after you figured out the global market analysis, after we've done that, which I've shown you how to do through the rate view tool and the market conditions index tool, then we're going to do lane specific analysis. We're going to look at the 7-day lane averages, or 15-day lane averages actually. Let me change that. 15-day lane averages to target the top 3 to 5 routes. So you've already picked out 3 to 5 potential routes that you want to focus on. Now we want to figure out what those lanes have been paying over the last 15 days. We want to check both head haul and back haul, so on and so forth. So I'll show you how to do that. It's really easy to do that. I'm going to go back. I'm actually going to X out of this and go back into our DAT dashboard. We're going to go back into tools and right over here, this quick rate lookup. That's exactly what we're going to use. Okay. So I have 5 potential routes that I'm interested in, and I'm just going to go ahead and look up what the past 15 days for those lanes have looked like. Okay. What are the rates for those past 15 days look like? So one of them that I looked at was from Chicago, Illinois to Columbus, Ohio. So that's a route I'm potentially interested in. So I'll go ahead and click on that. It's a dry van that I'm looking for. So let's click search. And if we do that, it tells us that for the past 15 days, the average has been $3 per mile. Okay, which is really good. If we remember our target rate per mile that we figured out in this cost per mile calculator. Okay, if you guys remember the target rate per mile, so that is the CPM plus this owner profit, this TPPM. You add those two together, we had a target rate per mile of $2.32. So that's the number we're trying to make sure that we're making above. So as you can see, we're making $3 per mile. On average, we should expect to make $3 per mile going from Chicago to Columbus, Ohio. Okay, perfect. So let's just assume this is true. Okay, this $3 per mile number is true. Again, it's not 100% guarantee. It's just a good starting point. It's fairly accurate, but it's just a good starting point. It doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to make $3 per mile on this load. But let's just say it's accurate. Let's assume that it's accurate. Then we want to look at from Columbus, Ohio back to Chicago. Okay, so I'll click on new search. I will look up Columbus, Ohio, going to Chicago, Illinois. Again, drive in, click search, and we're making $1.88 per mile. Okay, significantly less than $3 per mile. But let's just do the quick math on this. So one way from Chicago to Columbus, we're making $3 per mile. Coming back, we're making $1, let's say $1.90 per mile, just to keep the math even. We're going to add those two numbers together, $3 plus $1.90. That is obviously $4.90 per mile, and divide that by 2. Okay, so what is the average rate that you got for this head haul and back haul? If we do that, we get a rate of $2.45 per mile. So based on this calculation, even if we ran this load for $3 per mile going to Columbus, and we only got $1.90 coming back from Columbus, Ohio to Chicago, it would still make sense for us to run this route. Okay, Again, on average, we're going to be making $2.45 from doing this. Our target rate per mile is $2.32. So we're clearing that. Our average is higher than the target rate per mile. I think you guys are following along. But you're going to go ahead and do this for all the lanes that you're looking at, all the routes that you're looking at. Okay. So for this route, I'm going to give it a check mark. Yes, we're good to go. I can look even deeper into this in just a little bit. But you're going to go ahead, click new search, look for your other lanes as well. So let's say Chicago, Illinois to Louisville. Where to go? Louisville, Kentucky. Drive in. We're getting $3.18 per mile. Okay, much better. $3.18 per mile. How about coming back? Let me click new search. Louisville, Kentucky, and then Chicago, Illinois. Click search, and we're getting $2.32 per mile coming back. Okay, so this is sounding even better. Again, I probably don't even need to do the math for you guys, but if I did it, let's say it was $3 and I'll just say $3.15 going from Chicago to Louisville, and then from Louisville to Chicago is $2.30. Let's just say we divide that by 2, and that is $2.72 per mile on average, which is much higher than the Columbus route. Okay, so this is the lane that I would be more interested in. So this would also get a big check mark. But again, you go ahead, do this for all the 3 to 5 routes that you have set. So that is the lane specific analysis that we're doing. We've done the global analysis, we've done the lane specific analysis, and then finally the truck level analysis. You have to figure out like, okay, is it Louisville, Kentucky? Is that route from Chicago to Louisville? Does it have a lot of tolls? Is it like, what's the weather usually like? Is it really hilly area? Is there a lot of mountains? You have to figure out all those little details and see if your carrier is willing to do that, if they're happy to do that. What are their hours of service looking like? You'll need to figure all that out as well. Hopefully you guys understand now how to do like the analysis, how I do my market analysis. It's super easy. It might sound really complicated, but once you start to get the hang of it, once you start to do it, it becomes second nature. It's incredibly easy. So we've gone through the learning phase. We've gone through the observation phase. Now we have the asking phase. In the asking phase, we're going to actually start booking loads. Okay. So we're going to start searching for loads and booking them. Speaking of which, the very first step is to finally start searching for all these loads. I'm going to show you how to do that. Like all the parameters that you need to use, all the filters that you can use, how to actually organize all the loads that show up. So I'm going to show you how to search for loads on any load board that you use, but I'm going to show it specifically on DAT. Then we're going to show you how to comp lanes, compare each lane with another one. Okay. You're not just going to call on the first broker and book the load, for whatever number that they give you. Usually you can request like $100, $200 more than the listed price. We want to make as much money as physically possible for our carrier, because not only do they end up making more money, you also end up making more money. And if you accidentally end up sending them into a dead zone, even if you did all your research, turns out that the lane that you sent them to, the market that you sent them to was horrible. You couldn't find a bunch of loads coming out of it, so they had to deadhead out of it. Just because you researched and you gave them another $100, you negotiated an extra $100 for them, you might be able to cover their costs on the deadhead. Okay, so they don't have to take as much of a loss coming back out. But again, I'm going to show you how to comp lanes and compare them to each other. And then finally, how to actually call the broker and negotiate the rate on the phone. So we're going to do all that. So in the asking phase, you hit the load boards, whether it's DAT, truck stop, 123 load board, truckloads by trucker path, doesn't matter what load board you have. We're only going to call on the loads that match your carrier's lane, the lane that they want to run, their target rate per mile, and their pickup window. Okay, if they're dropping off their past load, the previous load that they've picked up, if they're dropping it off at, let's say 4 p.m., and this next load that you're picking up for them, that you're trying to negotiate for, the pickup is at, or like 3 p.m., then obviously it's not going to work. Okay, so you need to have all those little details in mind as well. So we're going to check the miles, the times, pick up and drop off cities before we call. I'm going to show you how to do all that. So first and foremost, just going to show you how to search for loads, use the filters to narrow down your lanes that your carrier actually wants. So we're going to sort by pickup date, distance, and RPM. Skip anything that doesn't meet your target. So low rates, wrong direction, bad pickup times, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to comp lanes. You're going to call 3 to 5 brokers with loads for the same lane. Let's say, for example, I'm looking at Chicago to Columbus, Ohio. There's going to be many different loads posted by many different brokers for that same lane or for very similar lanes. So I want to make sure I'm calling for at least 3 to 5 brokers on that same lane or very similar lanes and figure out what each broker is willing to pay, how much higher they're willing to go than the listed price. Ask what they're paying, use those calls to feel out the lane and how much that they're willing to pay. Push for $100 to $200 more than the listing price or the first price that they give out. Ask if they can check with their manager. You know, if they say no, that, you know, we can't go that high, you can, if you want to push it a little bit, you could be like, hey, no problem. Could you actually check with your manager to see if you can do it for this rate? You can throw it out there. Usually they're willing to check and go a little bit higher. Whether they agree to your rate or not. So if they're saying they're going to only give you $1,000, you ask for $1,200, whether they say yes or no to you, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to book the load right away, at least as a newbie, at least as a beginner. What you're going to say is, hey, okay, perfect. No problem. Can I check with my driver really quickly and call you back? Just say that and get off the phone. Okay, because we want to go back and call other brokers, see what they're offering as well. So you're going to combine this knowledge, combine this analysis with your RPM target, so you never take a load blind. So that's what comping a load is. It's basically like buying real estate. The way you figure out what a real estate property is worth is by comparing it to other similar properties in that area. Okay, that's how you figure out what your house is worth, essentially. Same way, same thing goes for loads. And then finally, the call. So once you find a good load, you figure out like, hey, okay, this is the best price that I can get from this broker. This is what I should negotiate for. I'm happy with this price. Call and ask all the key questions that you need from the broker. You get all the proper details that you need from them, the rate, the commodity, the weight, the pickup and delivery times, the locations, if there's going to be any detention, layover, any lumper fees. So if it's first come, first serve, like you need to ask all these different questions. Write all this stuff down in the beginning because you never want to trust your memory when it comes to making money. So that was a lot of information. Let me just take you through it step by step. So first and foremost, let me show you how to actually search for loads. So we're going to go back into our dashboard, and what we're going to do is just click on search loads. For you, it might be different based on the software that you're using, but for DAT, this is how it looks. For most load boards, this is going to be very, very similar. All right, so let me just show you how to start searching for loads. So as you can see, there's a few quick parameters that we need to fill out. First and foremost, the origin city. So this is where you want to start from. Where is your carrier right now? Because that's where we want to pick up the load from. Okay, somewhere close to them. Again, in my example, let's just assume he's in Chicago, Illinois. Then we're going to set the deadhead from the origin. Okay, so this is DHO. So how many miles away from the city of Chicago are you willing to go pick up the load? I like to put this number at around 50 miles, just to start off with. And I like to stick to this number pretty strictly, pretty religiously. Because again, you have to think about it. For every mile that your carrier is driving, they're spending money to get there, like $1.80, $1.70. It might change for all of you, but in our example, it was $1.82. That was our CPM for our carrier. So every mile that they're driving, they're spending $1.82. Over 50 miles, that would be $91. So they spent $91 to get to a place that they're not going to be compensated for. Okay, they didn't pick up a load or anything. They just drove those miles empty. So you have to keep that into consideration. 50 is kind of where I would leave it at. Okay, you can play around with this if you want to. But for me, I like to leave this at 50 miles for the deadhead. Then you can pick the destination. So again, in our example, the routes that we looked at, one of them was Columbus, Ohio. The deadhead from Columbus, again, we can set this to 50. That's totally fine. Another thing that DAT specifically allows you to do is actually use zones. If you don't really want to go to a specific city, let's say I just want to go to Ohio in general, I can just put the entire state of Ohio. Or let's say there's a few different states that I want to go to, like a few states in the Midwest that I'm willing to go to. I can actually pick some zip zones. So I can see over here, well, first and foremost, it tells you like how you can actually search. So you can search for city and state, for zones, for state and zones. So you can combine them together. And if you don't know what zones are for DAT, you just click over here where it says zip zones and it tells you. Okay, so like Z4, for example, the states in Z4 are Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, and Ohio. So kind of like the eastern Midwest side. And then we have Iowa, Minnesota, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin. This is kind of like the top left-hand side of the Midwest. We have Z6, which is kind of like the bottom of the Midwest, you could say. Illinois, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska. So they have these different zones that you can use if you want to use those instead. But again, that's getting a little bit more complicated. We'll just be very simple and just pick Columbus, Ohio. Set the deadhead to 50 just for this example. For equipment type, I'm working with dry vans. You can look through this. You can add multiple different equipment types if you want to, but you can look through this and see what other type of equipment types that they have in here. They have a ton. You can see all the different equipment types that they have. So if you're working with Sprinter vans, if you're working power only, if you're working for box trucks, there's so many different equipment types that you can target. But I'm just going to pick dry van standard. And then for load type, I'm only going to do full loads. We don't do partial loads. Again, if you're working with box trucks, Sprinter vans, cargo vans, you could potentially look up partial loads. That's something that you might want to consider. But typically I like to do full loads. The length of the trailer that my semi-truck dry van truckers, the carriers that we work with, haul is 53 foot. Yours might be a little bit different. Again, you'll do your research. For weight, I could just leave this wide open. It doesn't really matter. For date range, this is important. I want to look for loads. Let's say I want to look for loads for Friday. So the load will pick up on Friday. I always like to look for loads 1 day in advance. So instead of booking loads on the 2nd, so today is the 2nd for me, instead of like me coming on the load board and trying to find a load today that my carrier can pick up and book, because that is very stressful to do, I would like to at least do it like 1 day in advance, 2 days in advance. Okay, so let's say on Monday, I should have a load booked tomorrow for Monday. Okay, like a pickup and drop off, and then also something booked from that location as well. The further out you can book loads, the better position you're putting yourself in, the less stress that you're going to take on. So let's say I already have a load covered for today. I'm looking for something tomorrow. So my carrier is going to be in Chicago tomorrow. So the pickup is going to be tomorrow from Chicago, 50 miles deadhead, going to Columbus. Go ahead and click search. And as you can see, we have 38 exact results. Okay, so these are the results that exactly match all of our filters and parameters. And also another thing you should note, the results that are over here, they're being listed by age. So this is exactly what we want. We want all the newest loads that are posted to the load board to come to the top first. They have a much more likelihood of being better paying loads, because you have to imagine, if a new load, if it's a good load that's posted to the load board, it's going to get scooped up immediately. Okay. Whereas like these loads that are on here, that have been on here for a while, they're probably on there for a specific reason. Either the shipper sucks, either the broker sucks, or it might just be as simple as, you know, they just don't pay a good amount of money to move this load. So you have to take that into consideration. But as soon as the load gets posted, you want to be the first one to call on it. And you can do that by enabling this alarm for this search. So I would just go ahead and turn this on. That way, anytime a new load is posted, I'm going to get like a little notification and like a ring on my desktop. And the same thing goes for the phone as well. A lot of load boards have these features, by the way. Anyways, 38 exact results, 137 similar results. So I'm just going to go through the exact results first. So this is kind of how it looks. And as we can see, so the first thing we see is the age when this load was posted. Then we see the rate. So what is the broker offering? Sometimes they'll have a rate listed. As you can see, this broker is paying $1,000 to go from Chicago to Mount Sterling, Ohio. And again, we can negotiate for more money. Okay. But sometimes they'll have the rate listed like this. Sometimes they won't. So you have to call to ask them, what are they offering on this load? And then we have the trip. So these are the total number of miles that your carrier will be driving to get to the location. So from Chicago to Mount Sterling, it's 347 miles. We have the origin city listed over here. We have the deadhead from your location listed over here. So we can see the deadhead from the origin is 0 miles, which makes sense. We say that we want to start in Chicago, Illinois. This pickup is from Chicago, Illinois. So it's from exactly that same city. There's a 0 mile deadhead. You're picking up from the same exact city that your carrier is in. But let's say Cicero, Illinois, it's telling us that Cicero, Illinois is 10 miles away from this origin city that you listed, which is Chicago. Okay, so that's where you can look up the deadhead. And then we have the destination and then the destination deadhead as well. Pretty straightforward. We have the pickup date. We have the equipment type, the length of the trailer that they need, how much the weight is of the load. The lighter the weight is, usually not really like the less that they're willing to pay, but in a lot of cases, they're willing to pay a little bit less than like the bigger loads, but that's totally fine. If we can book a really light load for our carrier that also matches their target RPM, that is perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for, okay? Because you have to think about it. If the load is lighter, because I know for dry vans, they can pick up like 45,000 pounds legally, but this one's only 16,000 pounds. That's really good for our carrier because they're moving a lighter load. They're going to be much more fuel efficient, so they're going to spend less money on fuel, and their truck is going to go through less wear and tear. Okay, so it's going to take less effort for their truck to move, for the mechanics to move in their truck, and yeah, there's going to be less chance of a breakdown for tires and all that good stuff. So you end up saving them a ton of money by booking lighter loads. But then sometimes you don't really have an option. You need to pick up a load like this, which is like 43,000 pounds. But yeah, the weight is something that's pretty important as well. And then the capacity, they need the full truck. You're not able to pick up like partial loads, multiple different loads. They need the full truck to move this load. And then we have the company or the brokerage that's actually listed this load to be moved, and then the contact information. So this is the number that you're going to call to negotiate this load with them. I would say 99% of the time you want to be calling the broker. Okay. So as you can see over here, they've only provided the email. So I would actually click into this and see if they provided a contact information like a phone number. And usually they do. So you can see right here under contact information, they provided a phone number that you can contact them with. And that's what I would reach out to. Because again, you want to reach out to them immediately. If you're sitting there typing out emails, waiting for them to respond to you, and then you're trying to negotiate that way, it's just going to take so much longer. And by the time like you even send out the email, someone has already called on this load. They've already negotiated the price with the broker and they've agreed to the rate. Okay. And you've lost the load because you were too busy emailing. But then sometimes you're not going to have this option. All you have is an email. So in that case, just send the email. Oh, and then the final thing I want to mention is the credit score and the days to pay. Very, very important stuff. You want to avoid getting scammed. And a really good way to do that in the beginning is just to check the credit score. So this is how likely this broker is to pay back their accounts payable. So 97 is really good. I would say like 95 and above, 93 and above, I would even go down to, but 95 and above is really good. Okay, it's a really good sign. There's going to be some that are like 90. So you can see over here, 90 is the credit score. Grain Logistics. I wouldn't avoid this load because of that. I would just look a little bit deeper into it. It's kind of like a red flag. It doesn't mean it's a scam or anything like that, or it's not a good load, or it's not a good broker. It's just a red flag. That just means you look a little bit deeper into it. See if this broker is legit. Have you heard of this broker before? Are they a big company? I mean, I haven't heard of Grain Logistics Express. It's not a big company. RXO, that's a massive brokerage. Everyone knows about them. Kirsch is a big transportation company and brokerage. Let's see who else on here. JB Hunt, TQL. These are two massive brokerages. So there's going to be like some brokers on here that are really big. Okay. And then others that are really small, or not small, but they're not like massive players in the industry. So you have to do a little bit more research into them. Again, doesn't mean that they're bad or anything like that. You kind of understand now, how the search function works, how all the filters work, how all the parameters work. Just a few more things that I want to show you that DAT has, especially with the $200 plan. And that is the tri-haul feature. So you can see right over here, we get the lane rate. So we get the average rate over the past 15 days that Chicago to Columbus, Ohio has paid, which is $3 per mile. I already showed you how to do that. And also we get a tri-haul feature. So what this feature does is basically just shows you like a pass-through city that you can go through to make more money per mile. So for example, instead of going from Chicago to Columbus, so going from Chicago to Columbus directly, they're assuming you're going to make that $3.02 per mile, like that average spot rate. And if you do that, if you make that average spot rate over the 352 miles, you're going to make $1,063 total. Okay. Now, let's say in the case that you're really stuck somewhere, you're not finding good loads, there's not a lot of loads available for you, they're not paying that well, you're struggling to find them a really good load. What you can do is use this tri-haul feature. So you just click on that try haul button and it's going to tell you different cities that you can pass through. So instead of going directly from Chicago to Columbus, it's telling you, hey, if you go from Chicago to Detroit, Michigan first, and then from Detroit, Michigan to Columbus, Ohio, then you will make from Chicago to Detroit, Michigan, that's 281 miles, you will make $932. That's their average spot rate for the past 15 days. And then from Detroit, Michigan to Columbus, Ohio, it's gonna be 203 miles and you're gonna make $673. Okay. So if you ran it this way, you get a much higher CPM. You obviously waste a day, in a different city. You waste a day like driving to this city and picking up a load and, dropping it off over there. But in total, like the average rate that you're going to get is $3.32 per mile instead of the $3 per mile that you were getting direct from Chicago to Columbus. If you do it this way, you will average $3.32 per mile. You're going to be driving 484 miles total. So that means your total revenue by going through these cities, by routing your carrier like this, you're going to make $1,600. So which is $500 more than the direct route. However, the big important thing that you have to remember is that this is going to take you more time. So let's say like Chicago to Columbus, that would take your carrier 1 day to go from Chicago to Columbus and deliver the load. So they would only need to spend 1 day in transport to do that. Whereas, going from Chicago to Detroit, Michigan, loading and unloading, and then picking up a load from there, and then loading, unloading, and Columbus, you might end up spending 2 or 3 days. You're going to end up spending more days doing this load just to make an extra $500. Whereas you could have done this load from Chicago to Columbus and come back within 3 days and made $2,000. You're only making $1,500 or $1,600 in those 3 days with this option. So hopefully you guys are kind of following along. The main thing that you need to understand, for the most part, the direct route is the best option. Okay, that is like the overall highest paying option that you have because you waste less time and the money that you make is proportional. The amount of money you make per day is pretty high as well, as long as you're hitting your target rate per mile. But for those cases where you're really stuck in a bad market, you can't find any loads, all the loads suck, they don't pay a bunch of money, you're only getting like $1.50, $1.80, $2 per mile, then you can think about using a try haul feature. You'll have to spend an extra day or two, delivering loads. You're going to make less money overall. So instead of making $2,000 in 3 days, you might only make $1,500 in 3 days, but your rate per mile that you're getting. So you can see $3.32 per mile versus $3 per mile. The rate per mile you're getting will increase. Okay, so your carrier won't be running at a loss. Hopefully that makes sense. And again, you only use this during like emergencies, or that's when I use it. Okay, so that makes sense. We've covered that. I've shown you guys how to search for loads. Now, the next part. We've done the searching. And again, this is just one of the routes that we were looking at. I would just click on this plus button and we can look at, we can open up multiple routes. So the 3 to 5 routes that you were looking at, let's say out of the 5, only 3 of them were like pretty solid that you are interested in. Let's say the other one was Chicago, Illinois to, let me just change all these parameters. Chicago, Illinois to Louisville. That was the other one we were looking at. I will do 50 miles over here. Equipment type is van. It's a full load, 53 foot, weight is fine. Pickup is tomorrow. Okay, click search. And now I have this lane available to me as well. Okay, and as you can see, we did the research into Louisville. If you guys remember the market conditions index, it was very loose capacity going into Louisville, Kentucky. And you can see that, we kind of see that as well over here. There's a lot less loads that are going into Louisville, Kentucky, a lot less loads available because a lot of carriers are probably interested in going there. The brokers that already have their loads booked out to those carriers. Okay, so it's kind of cool seeing like how the analysis that you're doing, it kind of maps onto what we actually see in the market as well when we actually search. So I'll go ahead and turn on the alarms for this. And then let's say I have another third search over here. I could click on the plus sign. You guys get the point. Okay, you have multiple search tabs open so you can analyze multiple markets at the same time. So once we've done all the searching, we've set all the parameters. The next step, if you guys remember, I'll go back over here, is the comp stage. So we want to call on 3 to 5 brokers with loads for the same or very similar lanes and ask what they're paying. Okay, This is literally the only like surefire way to figure out what a broker is willing to pay you. The only way you can guarantee like what type of money that you can get from a broker is by calling the broker. Okay. That's the only surefire way to figure it out. So that's exactly what we're going to do in the next step. So let's say from Chicago, Illinois to Columbus, Ohio, there's 37 results in here. I am going to call on 3 to 5 of these brokers if I've never done a load before. If I've never done a load from Chicago to Columbus, I don't know what the rates are for this lane, then I will need to call 3 to 5 brokers and figure out what is like the top rate that I could get. So you could see over here, if we remember from the lane rate, the average was $3 per mile. So we will use that as like a benchmark. So we would like at least like assume that we can get $3 per mile. So that would be like $1,050, $1,050. I'm going to shoot for at least like $100 to $200 more. Maybe I'll say like, okay, could you do this load for $1,200? Okay. Like if they come at me and say like, we're paying $900 for this, $950, I will shoot back and say, can you do this for $1,200? Okay. They're going to say no. Okay. Could you do it for $1,100, $1,150, $1,100? Could you do it for $1,000? Then you can make your way down. Okay. But start it at least like a little bit higher than what you would be willing to take it for. But yeah, I would just go ahead, literally just start calling these brokers. So let's say like this one, Chicago, Illinois to Mount Sterling, Ohio. This one seems pretty good to me. They've already listed it at $1,000. It's 347 miles. I want to get like $3 per mile for this load. So I will ask for like $1,200. Okay. But I'll be happy with $1,100 as well. So I would go ahead, click over here. It gives you some more information about this load. So it's picking up October 3rd. Sometimes it tells you like the pickup time as well. They sometimes will list that over here, but they've only told us the date that is picking up, and they've told us the equipment as well. So they need a full truck, dry van, 53 foot. It's 16,000 pounds, the commodity. They haven't told us what the commodity is. So that's something that we will need to ask for. And they've also told us the load number. So this reference ID, this is the load number. So you can tell them the load number if they ask for it on the call. This the contact information. This the number that I would call. I'm not going to go ahead and do it right now, but I'm just showing you guys how to like what you would actually do. You have the rates over here, blah, blah, blah. Here's the company. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Okay, just go ahead and call this broker up. Don't actually do this. Okay, I'm just showing you like once you get access to a load board, go ahead and call the broker up and ask them like, hey, do you still have this load available? Could you provide me the details for it? And they will just like rapid fire start telling you some details about the load. Like what is the commodity? What is the pickup time, pickup date? What is the drop off time, drop off date? What is the commodity? Is it palletized? Blah, blah, blah. First come, first serve, so on and so forth. So you write all that information down. At the end, they're going to either ask you what rate you're willing to pick it up for, or they will just give you their rate. Like, hey, we could do this load for $1,000. And then that's where you say, okay, could you do it for $1,200? They're going to say no or yes. You could go back and forth a little bit. Regardless of the situation, what you're going to do is be like, okay, no problem. Let me just call my carrier really quickly and I will call you right back. Just something as simple as that, just to get off the phone with them. Okay. So you will write down what rate you were able to negotiate with them. You write this down. And then I will open up another load, let's say from Portage, Indiana. Well, this is like 38 miles deadhead. Let me try to find something closer. Let's say Chicago, Illinois to Hillard, Ohio. Okay, this sounds pretty good. So I will click on this. I will call this broker. So you can see in the comments, they say it's out of L.O.A.D, Illinois, not Chicago, Illinois, L.O.A.D, Illinois. So I would look that up, like how far away from Chicago is that actually? And then call this number, same thing. What rate are you willing to give me? Can you do $1,200 for this load? Could you do $1,100 for this load? Okay, no problem. Let me call my carrier. I'll call you right back. You keep doing this over and over again. Okay. Do this for like 3 to 4 to 5 loads, just so you get a rough idea of how far you can push the rate. That's all you're trying to do. Once you do it once, okay, you don't need to do this like every single time you book a load or every single week. You just need to do it with lanes that you're unfamiliar with. So I already know the Chicago to Columbus market. I know you could get like $1,100. Right now you could get like $1,100 for it. So I don't need to go back and forth and like do that with brokers. Okay. I already know what this route can get me. But in the beginning, when you don't have any familiarity with the route, this is what you need to do. You need to comp the lanes. Same thing goes from Chicago to Louisville, Kentucky. I would do the exact same thing over here as well. Anyways, so we've comped the loads and I've told you guys how to call them, or I've shown you guys how to call them like You just call the number. It's really straightforward how the conversation is supposed to go. You ask all the key questions. And you just write all that stuff down. Now you might be wondering like, okay, well, you're telling me that they're going to give me like a bunch of information on the call. Like, what am I actually supposed to ask them on the call? Like, what sort of load details do I need to keep in mind? What am I keeping track of? Okay, on this load. Like, I'm not going to be able to remember all that. It's a really good point. Luckily for you, I have something for you. Okay, so let me just pull up my slideshow. I have actually created a broker checklist for you guys. Okay, so this is kind of like your cheat sheet. Whenever you're on a call with the broker, you can have this in front of you. As they're going through rapid fire, like giving you all the details about the load, you could just go ahead and write all that stuff down in here. Okay, and if they miss anything, you can ask them those questions like, hey, is it palletized? How many pieces of the commodity are there? Did you mention what the commodity type was? What was it? What am I actually hauling? What is my carrier actually hauling? Did you mention the pickup time? So anything you miss, you can ask the broker. So if you want this checklist, again, giving you so much stuff for free. All right. I just want you guys to like do the work and make some money. There's so much money to be made in this industry. Just go to dispatcheruniversity.com/broker and I'll show you what that checklist looks like. So right over here, just go ahead and read this. Okay. This tells you how to use the checklist. Basically, all you need to know is everything with this green check mark next to it is like the very important stuff that you need to know. Okay. Everything else is going to be dependent on the type of carrier that you're dispatching for, and it's not really that essential. But everything in the green, this is something that you will need to know every single time you book a load. So for example, what is the commodity that your carrier is hauling? What is the weight of the stuff that you're hauling? Is it palletized? How many pallets? How many pieces of the equipment are there? Or like not the equipment, the commodity are there? You will need to ask that, okay? Because based on that, you will need to figure out like if you need any extra equipment on the truck that your driver will need to carry with them. What is the pickup date and the time? This is super important. What is the pickup location? They might not give you the name of the shipper, but they'll definitely give you like the city. Okay, they're not going to give you like the full address right now, but they'll give you the city of where the shipper is in. So you don't really need the name and address. It's more so just the city and state for now. Same thing goes for the delivery information, the rate that you're agreeing on, that you're trying to negotiate with them. What are they willing to pay? The maximum amount that they're willing to pay, their broker name, company information, the actual broker's name, the contact name and number. So you could get that information from them as well. Go ahead, download this or get access to this broker checklist for free, and you can start using it. Okay, that way you don't have to remember everything on the call. Just have this open on the side, write stuff down, and you'll be totally fine. As you start to do this more and more, as you start to dispatch more and more, you won't need something like this. It'll just be second nature to you. You'll just remember all this stuff. In the beginning, it'll seem like a lot though. So that is the broker checklist. So we've done the learning phase. We've done the observation phase, like the market analysis. And I've shown you guys how to actually ask for the loads as well, how to search for them, how to comp the lanes against one another to figure out what the best rate possible is, and how to make the final call, what questions to ask, and how to kind of negotiate the rate. Always try to ask like $100, $200 more, and then come down from there, see what you can get. There's kind of like an art form to it. There's not really a science to the negotiation. Now, with that being said, we come to the last step, okay, the last stage of the load cycle, which is the delivery phase. So we've already booked the load. I'm assuming at this point, you've searched for the loads, you know exactly where to go, you've called a bunch of brokers, and you finally picked one load out, and you finally booked that load. Okay, you agreed to a rate on the call. What do you do after that? Okay, what are you actually supposed to do after you book a load on the call, after you agree to a rate on the call? What happens after? That's exactly what the delivery phase comes in. So first and foremost, we're going to need to sign the rate confirmation. That is the actual contract for the specific load. And actually, you're not going to be the one signing it typically. It'll be your carrier signing it. So it'll be the rate confirmation and maybe even like the carrier onboarding packet, which we'll cover in just a bit. Then after you sign that and you've officially received the load, then you're going to dispatch it to your carrier. So send them all the important details of the load that they need to know about. So you're going to send that to them either through WhatsApp, Telegram, it could be through iMessages, something as simple as that. But you're just going to send them the important details, okay, and what you're going to request from them. And then finally, the documents. So once they've actually fully delivered the load, they've gone there, picked up the load, delivered it, they've completed that load cycle, that route that you agreed to, you're going to need to collect some documents from them if you're going to be invoicing on their behalf as well. So they need to get paid, obviously. If you're the one that's going to be responsible for invoicing the broker or the factoring company, I will show you what documents you need to request from the carrier so you can do that, so the carrier can get paid. So let's just walk through all that step by step. So in the delivery phase, your job is to lock in the load, dispatch the carrier, make sure all the documents are collected and filed. This is where good dispatchers separate themselves from the sloppy ones, okay? So the very first step after you agree to a load on the phone with the broker is to sign the rate confirmation and maybe even fill out like a carrier onboarding packet. So after agreeing on a rate, the broker will send you two things. First, they might send you like their broker carrier packet. So if your carrier has never booked a load with this specific broker before, they will need to get set up in their system. And that's where they will request the carrier packet. You will need to fill out some information with them. I'll show you what this looks like. And then the second thing is the rate confirmation. So this is the actual contract for that specific load. So hopefully I made myself clear in that case. There's going to be two things, maybe two things that you will need to do after you agree to a rate on the call with the broker. First thing is the carrier packet. Fill out that onboarding carrier packet stuff for the broker so you can get set up in their system so they know who you are, who your carrier is, blah, blah, blah. I'll show you what that looks like. And then after you fill that out, if you've already delivered loads for them in the past, you won't need to do that. Then the only thing you need to do is just the rate confirmation. Sign the rate confirmation. It's the contract for the specific load. So in the rate confirmation, basically, this is like the important one. You want to double check the rate, double check the dates, the pickup and drop off time, the detention layover pay, and any other detail, okay? The load isn't yours until you fill these documents out and send them back to the broker. So just because you agreed to the rate on the call with the broker doesn't mean that load is yours until you fill out the rate confirmation. You sign it and the broker signs it and sends it back. So that's why we need to move really, really quickly. After we agree to the rate on the call, move really, really quickly to get this done. And actually, let me just show you what those look like before we move on. So here is an example onboarding packet. I just went through, this is like an actual onboarding packet that we received. I have obviously blurred out the information from the broker because I don't know how legal it is to share all this stuff. But I wanted to show you guys what the onboarding packet looks like. In the current day and age, a lot of the onboarding carrier packet stuff that brokers will request, all of that is done through a software now. Sometimes it will be through Highway. It might be Carrier, RMIS, or something like that. There's a whole bunch of different tools that brokers now use instead of sending you like a PDF document through your email. Sometimes they might send you a PDF through the email. Hey, just fill out this onboarding packet, this carrier packet, because you need to get set up in our system. We've never booked loads with you before. So this is the first step. You need to set up the carrier packet stuff with us. But 90% of the time, it's going to be through a software called Highway. Okay. Obviously, I can't show you like what the internals of Highway looks like because we would expose all of our carrier information. But yeah, I have just, put it into a PDF format just so you guys can see what it looks like. Okay. So either you will get a PDF through email or you will get a link to fill it out on a software called Highway. Either way, you can do this for the carrier. The only thing you can't do for the carrier is sign or initial these documents. You don't want to be involved in the middle of this load. You don't want your name on these load documents. You want only the carrier's name on these load documents. Now you could sign as a limited power of attorney, but again, just keep it super safe. You fill out all the information that you can, but to sign it and initial it, you send it to the carrier, have them sign an initial and send it back to you, and then you can send it to the broker. You could do something like that. Okay, so this is kind of what it looks like. As you can see, hey, these are all the documents that we need from you, like your operating authority, the certificate of insurance, carrier profile, W-9 taxpayer identification form, and the signed agreement, okay, which is attached below. It tells you how to get paid as well. So once you deliver this load, this is what you need to do to get paid, and then where you can submit that invoice and all these documents too, okay? And then here's the carrier profile. So you're just going to fill out all this stuff. As you guys remember, in the onboarding documents, like the carrier packet stuff that we did in the learning phase, I had my own carrier profile made. Okay. So in this document that I already had made, I've already asked all the basic information. So I can reference this every time I'm filling out this onboarding packet for my carrier. So I know my carrier's name, I know their contact information, I know their physical address because they provided it to me. The dispatch day phone number, you could put your phone number in here. Dispatch email address, you could put your email address in here. Do you use a factoring company? You could say yes or no, and then you would need to include the notice of assignment as it says. What is the factoring company name, the address, mailing address, all that good stuff. You could go ahead and fill that out. Here's the insurance request information. Please fax this to your insurance agent. So you would have to call their insurance company, tell them, hey, I'm a dispatcher for this carrier. I'm booking a load for them. The broker needs a certificate of insurance. You could either call them, or most of the time now, insurance companies have like an online portal where you can just sign into the online portal and get a certificate of insurance made for the broker. Okay. And again, if the carrier doesn't feel comfortable letting you do that, then you can just have the carrier do that instead. But yeah, the broker is sending you their MC authority, so you can see that they're a legit broker. And here's their broker carrier contract. So this is not the rate confirmation. This is just their broker carrier contract. So you could fill out like, okay, this is the carrier's name. You would fill that out over here. You could fill all this stuff out that you can. But again, when it comes to signing the initials right over here, you would send this document to the carrier to do. You don't want to be initialing or signing. Again, the further away you can stay from like these load documents, like getting your name on them, the better it is. You don't want to be involved in between the load process, like inside the contracts or whatnot, because then you're opening yourself up to some liability as well. So yeah, just showing you roughly what it looks like. And the broker will sign an initial and, put their name and everything over here. And then your carrier will do the same thing. You can fill all this stuff out. For a print name, you can write out the name of the owner operator or the carrier, but they will go ahead and sign it again over here. Okay. And initial on the bottom as well. So yeah, it's really that simple. It's nothing too crazy. Okay. It's basically just like a setup document for the broker, like a broker carrier contract, and just getting set up in their system if you've never worked with that broker before. And by you, I mean the carrier that you're working with. If that carrier has never delivered a load for this broker before, they will need to fill out this like onboarding broker carrier packet. And alongside this information, you will also need to send, again, the certificate of insurance. You will need to send that. Okay. And the certificate holder will be the broker. So the insurance company knows how to do this. The carrier should know how to do this as well. If they don't, super simple. You just go to the insurance company. You just call the insurance agent, tell them, hey, I'm about to book a load with this broker for this carrier that I'm working with. Could you make that broker the certificate holder? Here's the broker's name and here's their address. That's all the information that you need to give. They will get that sent out and they will send it to the broker's email. So you also need to provide the broker's email as well. Super straightforward, nothing too complicated. So you would send the certificate of insurance, as well as this entire onboarding packet that you filled out. You'll send the certificate of insurance, the MC authority, you'll send that as well, and the W-9. Okay, so you'd send all this information. Anything else, the broker can request that from you as well. And also they tell you what to send, like right over here as well. So that's the onboarding packet. Only need to fill this out, typically filling it out online through Highway if your carrier has never delivered a load for this broker. Now, after you fill this out, sometimes you don't even need to fill this out. The other thing you'll need to do is the rate confirmation. So after you fill this out and send this to the broker, they will then send you the rate confirmation. So you have the rate confirmation right here. It's usually a one-page document. It's basically giving you all the load details. So it's the load number over here. This was like the logo of the company, the broker, and their address and everything. So I kind of blurred that out. But they give you the load number over here. The carrier, so your carrier that you're representing, will be listed over here. Their telephone number, their contact, their email. Typically, like the contact and email would be you. So you could just make sure that that's the case. The MC number of the carrier, tractor trailer, the driver's name, the driver's telephone number, you would need to provide that. And again, you have all that stuff through the carrier profile that you filled out. So you can see over here, We have the company information, their office phone number, main contact phone number and everything. We have this stuff over here, driver information. So the truck number, trailer number, driver's cell phone number. So we would have that information as well. Okay. You could also see some load notes in here. This is very, very important. You should keep this stuff in mind as well. And make sure you communicate this stuff to your carrier as well, so they're aware. The pickup location and the pickup address. So this is where they will tell you like exactly who the shipper is and what is their address. They will tell you that on the rate confirmation. So you get to see who's the exact shipper, what is the exact address, what is the pickup time, drop off time, what is the pickup number, the delivery number, all that good stuff. You get that over here as well. And then finally the rate. You get the rate over here. So which is $1,000. So this, I know we got like $3 per mile to do this load. You will go ahead, the carrier will go ahead and sign over here, not you. Again, the carrier will go ahead and sign this and write the date as well and send it to you. And then you will forward it to the broker. Broker will go ahead, sign it, date it, and send the signed confirmation back to you. So yeah, that's really about it. Okay. That's the onboarding packet. This is the rate confirmation. That's exactly how it looks. Again, it might have been a bit more confusing. Just go back, watch this video again, rewind it. It'll make more sense. Okay. And if you have any questions, just join Dispatcher University. Like I have like a full advanced course in there that you can go through. It's cheap, super cheap to join. And you can jump on a live call with me every single week. Okay. I'm more than happy to answer all your questions or just leave them in the comment below. I'll answer them. But anyways, that's the rate confirmation and the broker carrier packet. After you fill all this stuff out, you finalize the deal. Now you actually have the load. Then you need to dispatch it to your carrier. So they've already signed the rate confirmation. They already know what the load details are, but it's still a good habit to kind of give them like the main points. Okay. So once you book the load, the rate confirmation is signed, send your driver the load information that they will need. So this is like the pickup number, address, times, contact, etc., etc. And you also want to ask for key timestamps. So check-in and checkout time is really the only thing you need. You can also ask for their dock time as well. And I'll show you why in just a second, but we will need that for detention. So this is kind of like a sample, like a text message exchange of like what it could look like. So after I get the rate confirmation signed, after we do all that process, we've locked in this load, then I will send my carrier like a quick text message. You could do it through iMessage, through WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, doesn't really matter. You send them a quick text message. As you can see, I have shown them, or I have given them the pickup number that they will need, the pickup address. So I give them the exact pickup address and a pickup time as well. So it's picking up on this date at this time. And I've also given them the delivery number, the delivery address, and the delivery time. This is the date, this is the time. And on top of that, I'm also giving them some notes. So let's say, for example, if they needed 6 straps and 2 load bars for this load to deliver this load and pick up this load, I would make a note of that and to let the carrier know. Okay. And they confirm that they got it. Okay. They know that this load is on. This is the load that they need to do tomorrow or today or whatever it is, and then I'll also tell them like, hey, by the way, please remember to send me the check-in and checkout time for your pickup and delivery. Okay. I need the check-in and checkout time for the pickup address and for the delivery, like when you do both. If your loading or unloading takes more than 2 hours, let me know as well. Okay. So again, if it takes more than 2 hours, that's when I can start to ask for detention pay as well. We should be compensated $25, $30 per hour for that. Because again, our carrier is wasting time sitting on the dock. We have other loads that we need to do and we're running late for them. Okay. So we need to be compensated for the lost time. So I've let them know that as well. And he says, yes, okay, I will. And then he just sends me a reminder at tomorrow or today at 8 a.m. 7:50 a.m. He's at the location. He's checked in. He just tells me, hey, I checked in at the pickup. Great. And then at 9:27 a.m., he got unloaded from the pickup. Not unloaded, but they finished loading him at the pickup location. And he sent me a message saying, hey, I've checked out from the pickup location. Great. You need this information because the broker will ask you for this as well. Hey, how far is your driver? Did they check in yet? Could you let me know when they check in? Could you let me know when they check out? They also need to know this information. So your driver will tell you and you can communicate this information to the broker. And again, if it takes more than 2 hours to load or unload, like once they've been docked, like they receive the dock and they start like loading or unloading the truck, it should take 2 hours. If it takes any more than 2 hours, typically speaking, you should get detention pay for that, $25 to $30 per hour. And you can let the broker know about that as well. Like, hey, my carrier has been sitting on the dock for 2 hours now. It's going on 3 hours. Could you call the shipper and see what's going on? Why is it taking so long? We have another shipment to go to. But we would also like detention pay for the extra hour that we were there. And brokers are willing to give that. Anyways, that's how that whole tax exchange looks like. Again, nothing too complicated. You could just do exactly what I showed you. And then finally, we have the documents. So once they fully complete the load, they've delivered the load, they've picked up the load. After delivery, you need to get the signed BOL or POD from them, okay, from the carrier. So this is like a bill of lading or proof of delivery. They're like interchangeable words. It's the same exact thing. Some people call it BOL, sometimes it's called POD. They're talking about the same thing. It's basically like this document from the shipper verifying that, hey, yes, this is the load that it was delivered to us. This is the load that they picked up. And we're verifying that this is exactly what happened at this time. And all the equipment and all the commodities and everything that were shipped were in good order. Like they were in good condition, nothing got damaged. So yeah, proof of delivery, you will need that document. You might request some lumper receipts from them. Sometimes carriers need to pay something called a lumper at the shipper. So they need to spend like $100 or something like that, but the broker will reimburse you for that. Once you deliver the load, you get a lumper receipt from the carrier, you send it to the broker, and they will reimburse you that $100 that you spent at the shipper. That's pretty typical, okay? And basically anything else that you need for payment, like detention, you will need to tell the broker about the detention pay as well. You will need to send them an invoice as well. So there's a few different things you need to do, okay? If the carrier is using a factoring company, then you need to submit all of these documents, the BOL/POD, any lumper receipts, any detention pay that you're owed, an invoice. You need to send all this stuff to the factoring company with an invoice, as I mentioned. If they're not working with the factoring company, if they want to get paid directly from the broker, then you will send it to the broker directly. Nothing too complicated here. You save everything in Google Drive. You make sure you do everything, all this stuff fast. If you don't send the documents immediately, you're not going to get paid. Okay, you might even get fined for not sending all these documents within 24 hours of finishing the load. So as soon as you get all this BOL, POD, as soon as they're done delivering the load, you tell your carrier to scan and send over the documents to you, the proof of delivery and the BOL and the lumper receipts and all that good stuff. You get them to send that information to you right away so you can submit it to the broker right away as well. Usually you have to do it within 24 hours, okay, to avoid getting fined. But yeah, and then a quick tool that you can use. So you can tell your carriers to download this tool to scan their documents, because you don't want them taking pictures of a BOL or POD and sending that to you, because that looks super unprofessional. You know, imagine like having a picture like from far away. Carriers aren't really like professional photographers with like professional lighting. They're taking pictures in their semi truck. The paper's dirty. You know, the background is messy and like the lighting is not good. You can't really read what's on the paper. Brokers aren't going to accept that. So what you can do instead is get the carrier to download like Genius Scan. This is one of these like scanner tools. And basically what it can do is just scan the BOL, POD, rate cons, all that good stuff into clean and pro looking PDFs into seconds. Okay. So you just literally use it like a phone app, like a camera app on your phone. You can scan the document with this app and it will turn it into a PDF right away. And it looks super professional, basically like you took a screenshot on your computer. So I believe it's $0 per month to do that, to at least get started with it, but it might have a pro plan as well. It's totally worth it. Get all your carriers to download this and use it. So yeah, that's really about it, guys. I know that was a ton of information, but I wanted to be really, really thorough. And I'm sorry if I yapped a lot. Hopefully you had the timer in like 1.5 or 2 times speed, but this is literally everything that you need to do to book high paying loads, to find, to market, do some market analysis, to figure out where the hot zones are, to search for loads, to comp the loads, to negotiate rates, what to do after you actually agree to a rate. What does a broker packet look like, the carrier packet? What does a rate confirmation look like? When do you send that? Who signs it? Who doesn't sign it? I've literally shown you everything it takes to dispatch loads, to find, book, and dispatch loads. You can go ahead and take a screenshot of this if you want to, just so you can remember it. You can also come back to this video whenever you want to, if you need a refresher. This is literally all it takes to book loads, dispatch loads. It might seem like a ton of information, but that's only because you're learning all this for the first time right now. Once you start to do this, once you do like 5 or 10 loads, you will become an expert at all of this. All of this will start to make a lot more sense to you. You just need to go out and start doing it. That's the hardest part right now. And yeah, that's really about it. But one quick thing I should mention, again, just a quick plug for myself, Dispatcher University. If you want more advanced training, if you like this free course, you want more advanced training from me, you want to jump on live calls with me every single week, you want all my tools and templates. So I've given you a few in here, but I have 50, 60 more templates that I can give you. They're all inside Dispatcher University, okay? Plus, if you join Dispatcher University today, I guarantee I will help you find your first carrier, help you sign your first carrier in 90 days, or I will give you 100% money back. So if you're interested, you could go to school.com/dispatch. It's literally only $97 per month to join. Other people are charging thousands of dollars. I'm charging $97, okay? And I'm giving you everything else for free. So highly recommend you check this out. I'm guaranteeing you results. You have literally no risk to join, and just look at like the other results that the other students in Dispatcher University have gotten. Oscar, he's making $14,000 per month in 30 days. If you don't believe me, I have a video interview that I did with them that you can check out by going to school.com/dispatch. I'll show you where to look. Arthur, he's making $16,500 in 30 days. Again, if you don't believe me, I did an interview with them. You can reach out to these people yourself and talk to them and ask them, hey, is this legit? They will tell you. Eric, he's making $15,000 per month in 85 days. Again, I mentioned in 90 days, I will help you find one carrier. These people they're working with a lot more than one carrier, and they all did it in less than 90 days. So let me just show you. You go to school.com/dispatch. And this is what it's going to look like. This is like the page that you're going to land on. And you can see over here, I have some video interviews that you can look through. So I have Arthur over here, Oscar over here. I'm going to post Eric's as well, so you can look at that as well if you don't believe me. But a whole bunch of other proof in here as well. Okay. Caitlin onboarded her first carrier. Luis onboarded first carrier. Alvaro, he's working with 2 carriers at the moment. You can look through all these testimonials that people have posted. Richard, 7 trucks. He's working with 7 trucks, okay? There's a 17-year-old in here that's working with the carrier. But yeah, I literally have so much proof that I can do this for you, that I've done this for other people. And it all costs $97 per month right now. Once we hit 500 people in Dispatcher University, at that point, I'm going to have to start charging a lot more money. At that point, I'll have to start charging $1,000 per year. But right now, it's only $97 per month. I made it super, super cheap. Just get in there, get the advanced training, talk to me every single week, ask me any questions that you're stuck on. I will be there to help you out. So to summarize this video up really quickly, first and foremost, all you need to do is just start, okay? Start practicing how to dispatch. You know how to dispatch now, just go out and do it. You don't even need a carrier to start doing all this stuff, okay? You can get access to other load boards that aren't DAT. You can get access to 123 load board, to truckloads by Trucker Path. There's a whole bunch of other free load boards or like other paid load boards that don't require an MC number to join it. So many other load boards that you can join. Join them, run some market analysis, and start calling the brokers. Start getting comfortable with that process. Don't overcomplicate this step. Don't make excuses. Just because I don't have DAT, I can't get started. Don't make excuses. Start right now. Then after that, I want you to download all the free templates, the checklist, the tools, everything that I've given you in this training video. Go download all that, use it. It's going to be super, super helpful for you. And it's literally what I use in my 7-figure dispatching business. Okay. I'm not just giving you some like theory or whatever. This is the exact stuff that I do in my truck dispatching business. So if you want to follow like a guaranteed, like not guaranteed, but like if you want to follow a proven process that has already worked for me, then this is like your best chance. And then finally, consider joining Dispatcher University. It's my school community. I will help you find your first carrier in 90 days, guaranteed, or I will give you 100% of your money back. That's how confident I am. You literally have no risk. It's only $97 per month to join right now. After we get 500 members, we're changing the price to $1,000 per year. Okay, so join right now. Go to school.com/dispatch, join for $97. Anyways, with that being said, you now know how to do the service of running a truck dispatching business. So you now know how to find, book, and dispatch high-paying loads. In the next training video, I'm going to talk about the money. So how to charge the right price, how to set your pricing packages, what sort of service you should even provide, how to send invoices, how to make sure you get paid on time, all that good stuff. Okay. In the next part, we're actually going to start making money. I'm going to show you how to do all that stuff. If you want to watch that training video, just click over here and it will take you right there. Or you can go back and watch the previous videos, the previous parts in this free course that you missed. Anyways, I will see you in the next training video.